Okay, good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to Fat Cat Collections. Today, doing another watch review and doing a little bit different format. Going to do a little bit of a mix. I find that some folks really like me to talk about the watches, just showing the watches kind of up close and personal. Other times, folks like to kind of see me in the frame. But we're going to do a little bit of both to kind of appease. Well, let's face it, YouTube's a business, and I want to make the content as watchable as possible for you folks who are looking for, I'm not talking about the haters, but for people who really just do want the information, right? So let's talk about this watch today. This is, again, up close and personal, done in 4K, the Nubeo Viper. And this one just came out. I was able to get my hands on the red. Extremely cool looking watch. It is to be noted, if you are in the market for this watch, if you see this and you were like, oh man, I gotta have that in my collection, and you're a hot to trot, do look at the other release they just came out with. I'm working to get my hands on one, the tourbillon version. Again, going to be a big price difference between both, but both identical watches, just you're getting that tourbillon movement. But normally, I would always kind of gravitate towards a tourbillon if I had the choice between your standard automatic and a tourbillon, but I really like the way they've done this dial on this. Let's check it out. So check that out. So they have a power reserve on here, and a power reserve is one of the coolest features, I think, on a watch. I can really do without a chronograph feature, but when it comes to like this complication, where it's more basic, you have the time, you have a really nice way to gauge how much power you have left. And basically a power reserve just indicates how much, sometimes it'll have the amount of time you have left on that particular mainspring, but in this case, just go low to high. So if I just pop the crown out on this, unscrew it, and I put it to the number 1 position, and I start winding, hopefully you can see that arrow in the power reserve, it's going towards the green. You see that? And we're getting closer and closer to a full wind. Now, this is kind of interesting too, because a lot of times when I'm hand winding a watch, I'm not really sure how far to go. I kind of go until I start to feel a little bit of resistance. Like I'm feeling that a little bit now. We're going to go a little further and see if the power reserve moves. It does. So we're getting closer and closer to the, I guess they have, it looks like an H. I guess that would mean high and low, right? So we'll just kind of keep going here and see how far we can go. So now I'm just kind of starting to wind it. It's not actually moving. So I kind of like this because this is a good way of knowing, how much wind you have on the mainspring, and it prevents you from overwinding the watch, which you can do. I'm not sure if it's just something. All movements are, you could damage them doing that, and I would say it's all movements you could damage by overwinding. This is just kind of a nice way to say, hey, I'm done, right? Because I may, like, if it was me not having that power reserve, like, I'm kind of going till I feel resistance, and I'm not really feeling it with this watch. So anyway, really nice way of winding your watch. I love that they have the open heart on this. You can see that mainspring kind of gyrating away. Or not mainspring, but the balance wheel gyrating away. You can see one of the jewels in there. And what else do we have? Looks like we have an hour indicator. Nope, sorry, seconds indicator. Forgive me, I just am now looking at this watch, even though I've had it for several days. Very cool looking piece. If you are a fan of, Richard Mille watches, or meal watches. I'm not sure the proper way to saying that. This is definitely something that you might want to throw on your wrist. What I also like about it is they kind of did their own thing. I don't know, anytime that we have a barrel-shaped case or a tonneau-shaped case, people always say, oh, it's a Richard Mille copy, it's a homage. And I don't really know, all the different watches Richard Mille makes. That's where my mind does kind of go to, because they're most well known for this kind of bright, colorful, loud look. But, I don't think they actually make one in this shape. And it's kind of like an odd, normally like a lot of the Richard Milles sort of look more like this with, again, the traditional barrel, but more squarish, I would say. Whereas this, it has very bubblish is the best way to describe this. I love that they have all the color on this. You have the green outlining the different complications on here. The seconds indicator, very easy to read. Not that that's ever really a big concern to me, but it's a great looking piece. Now, one thing that we got to mention on this, like kind of like the star of the show, so to speak, the feature on the watch is this carbon fiber bezel. So the watch is a 3/16 stainless steel. We have some black plating on the side. I like that Nubeo tends to just not make a boring side. They usually have some sort of details in this. We have a little stainless steel in the middle or off to the sides, Nubeo branding. It just kind of breaks up the case a little bit. Nice stainless steel back. exhibition window. I like that they did a very legible signed rotor on this, as opposed to a lot of their watches they do. I'll show you, like this one here. And again, I don't dislike it, but they do this tinted kind of window on the back with usually like some sort of, like this is a, what is this, some kind of spacecraft of some sort. It kind of hides the movement, and I like that they just kind of kept it simple. I think this is what more watch collectors would prefer, is if you're going to put some graphic on there, do it on the rotor. This is probably more expensive to do, but I really like to see the movement on it. I like to see the rotor flopping around. It's a very cool watch. What else? And again, that carbon fiber, I don't know if this is, actually I shouldn't say carbon fiber. It's a forged fiber, I think. Carbon forged. It's not really fiber. It's more of what I would consider almost like, and forgive me if I'm using the wrong terminology on this, it's more of like a laminated carbon. Kind of like if you look at like a laminated gun stock or a laminated bow. It kind of has that kind of look, whereas carbon fiber tends to have, you can see like the specks of carbon in there, or like, I don't know if it'd be fiberglass. I'm not sure what makes up carbon fiber, but normally when you think of carbon fiber, we have sort of like that checkered like pattern, whereas this is some sort of carbon, but it's almost like it's been cut away where you see the grain, kind of like if you were to layer pieces of wood, like a laminated wood riser, and kind of cut that away, you start to see the different colors. Now this does have red, and it looks like a little bit of like black. I don't know if these are actually laminated pieces that they've created this sort of shape out of, or if this is actually some sort of finish. I don't want to scratch it, but I know I've had a watch in the past, I forget the brand, but I did put a little scratch on the color, and it kind of scratched through, which told me that, yes, that watch was a forged carbon case, but the finish was actually like applied. So I'm not really sure on this, but just don't go purposely scratching your watches. Very cool. Again, we have that screw down crown, hand wind. Let me just give you guys some of the specifications, and I'll show you some more close-ups here and throw on the wrist. And again, if you've never checked out Nubeo watches, they are themed. They have two different variations. They have their space-themed and, of course, their ocean-themed watches. So let's read what Nubeo has to say about this particular watch. I'm trying to get this lighting a little bit better here. We're getting a little bit of a glare. I don't know if that's any better or not. All right, so these are limited to 140 units. Again, that's in each color. So, quite a bit of selection out there. It says, named after the volatiles investigating polar exploration rover, the Viper, that's the name of this watch. This collection is inspired by NASA's mission to explore the moon in search of ice and other potential resources. And again, they're giving you the sales pitch here, but each watch is meticulously assembled from layers of carbon filaments, heat forged and machined into the perfect barrel-shaped case. It embodies the pioneering spirit with its exceptional design and engineering. So, so again, they call this like layers of carbon. That's kind of what I was trying to articulate. As far as specifications, again, they're just listing here, Japanese automatic, 2 hands, small second. It's a description of the movement, but it's not telling you what the movement is. But let me just look at how it's moving, how the rotor's flopping. I'd say this is an H35, maybe a 34. Let me see if I can find any kind of markings on here. May not be able to find anything. But generally, gosh, there's something on there. I just can't really make it out. And like I said, this is something that I've been harping on Nubeo for a while to actually list on their website. I don't know why they're not doing this, because this is such an important factor. If you're making watches, especially at this price point, people want to know the basic specifications. And when we look at what I call check boxes, what are those specifications? 1, do you like it, right? Number 2, what is it made out of? 316 stainless steel. That's most of the battle. Now, this is a little different. This is a watch on a rubber-like strap. So, of course, we have to kind of consider those check boxes as well, because there's lots of different types of material. This one here does use a red FKM rubber strap, again with that signed buckle. Longevity, I don't know. I'm not sure about these rubber straps. Will you get 10 years? Probably 20 years? Yeah, absolutely. But, when I think of watches, I want them to last for as long as I'm alive, right? And so, I don't know. I just kind of think about, obviously a stainless steel watch, it will last, possibly forever. But rubber, I've had G-Shocks that have broken down. I get time will tell how well these last, but I've been saying this for a while now. I'm going to keep saying it. I wish Nubeo would charge more for the watch, but include Like, this is a proprietary strap, right? So if anything happens, you kind of got to go back to Nubeo and hope that they still have it. It'd be nice if they made adapter links. And so what I mean by that is, yep, sell the watch just like this, but include a couple stainless steel. In this case, you could go silver. It would blend well. You even go black, but I'd go stainless steel. A couple adapter links that would adapt this case to a standard, 20 to 22 millimeter strap. So folks can go out and buy any replacement strap and still have a watch that's going to be functional and not something that's going to turn into just a paperweight. But again, not trying to plant any seeds of doubt, but it is something I think about with these rubber-like straps, or in this case, FKM rubber. After that, what kind of crystal? So this does have just a mineral lens. It's not a proprietary flame fusion like Invicta uses, K1 Cristerna. It's not sapphire. It is just mineral. Remember this, folks. The difference between mineral lens, flame fusion, Cristerna, K1, whatever crystal you're getting, they're all very scratch resistant. So yeah, should this have sapphire for this price point? I'd say yes, but remember, the odds you scratching this are pretty slim to none, right? Can it be scratched? Sure, but generally this is not a watch you're gonna be doing yard work with, or you're not gonna be crawling around into your car, right, on the concrete. You're generally gonna wear this out, wear it to dinner, wear it wherever. You're gonna be good to go. Again, as far as the other specifications, we've applied indexes with Swiss New Light. We have that screw-down crown, 28 millimeter strap on this, 5 ATMs of water resistance. They do list the weight, which is interesting because a lot of companies don't. So they should get rid of listing the weight and list the movement. That's more important. Number one, one of my check boxes. If you're buying an automatic watch, what kind of movement does it have? That's, kind of a deal breaker, folks. So I don't want it to be for you guys. If you fall in love with this watch based on the video, and you need to know the movement, drop me an email. If you're on the fence about purchasing and you need to know, let me know. I'll get you the information on this and we'll put this to bed. But generally, based on how the rotor is flopping around, NH series movements always do that. They don't have like a they may still be ball bearing, but a lot of other movements when you see, I'm trying to see if I have one here in front of me. I have a whole slew of watches here. Yeah, well, this isn't, I don't know if this is Miota, but look at this rotor spinning. See how it just kind of swings around back and forth with ease, whereas the NH series rotors tend to kind of flop around, right? Just probably how they work, I guess. I don't really have an answer for you on why one does that over another, but that's just something kind of known to NH series movements, and I'd say that this is probably an NH series movement. So very, very cool, great looking piece, and I think it's definitely one for the collection. Now, price on this right now is going for $499. Sorry, $599 with an MSRP of $2,000. I gotta address it. I wish Nubeo would just do what they do with Spinnaker. They list a normal retail price, which is what the watch sometimes sells for based on supply and demand and inventory. Then after that, they will turn around and put the watch on sale, but it's never insane sales. They're never going from $2,000 to $599, and I can guarantee you this watch will go on sale. You can use my coupon code on top of this. I think this will get you 50% off, but don't quote me on that. Sometimes with Nubeo's coupon codes, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. It just depends on the sale price. But my coupon code will generally get you 50% off. Try it if you want to buy this. This would be an incredible price at $300 and a realistic price, because based on the specifications, and not just the specs on this watch, but based on what other Nubeo watches sell for, the $250 to $400 price range is fair for your standard automatic movement, or even a quartz in some cases. But this watch I'm sure will go on sale, and I don't think this will really last. I think the red is one of the coolest ones. I did request the black because I have a few red watches already that are similar, but they didn't have those. I think those are the most popular colors. But red, I don't know. I'm not really a huge red fan, but when it comes to watches, I really seem to be. It seems like I'm always gravitating towards red when it comes to a lot of these Nubeos, because it is really flashy. It's a great looking piece, and it's definitely one, if you are looking to add something very unique to your collection, it's definitely going to fit the bill for that. Quality is fantastic. I mean, some folks are going to be like, oh, you can buy these on AliExpress, and they're just, it's not the case. There's a difference. Like, remember, a lot of times when you're going to a lot of those Chinese websites, I deal with this all the time with leather jackets. I'll be looking for, like, I'm on the hunt for a black python jacket, right? Looking, and I'll find like something on eBay. It doesn't necessarily have to be python. It can be embossed. because sometimes embossing can be extremely like give you the look you're looking for at a fraction of the price. But a lot of times they're showing the actual Python jacket. Then you email them and say, hey, can you show me the actual jacket? And they're like, oh, we custom make it. So you're basically buying something you have no idea what it looks like. So a lot of times those websites will use legitimate brands like Nubeo, and they'll make a copy of the watch. They'll show the Nubeo but delete or Photoshop out the brand names, and then people look at that, and this Invicta deals this all the time. People will be like, oh, you can buy those on AliExpress or in DHgate for, you know, $20. Not the case. A lot of times those companies are taking the actual watch picture, putting it on their site, and then when you actually get what you're ordering, it's completely different. It's like the watch, but it's nothing like it. The quality's not there. It's just not the same. So you have to give each watch kind of a fair shot. And I think, you know, with any Nubeo you get, their quality, when it comes to like Invicta, their quality is kind of all over the place, right? I should say all over the place. There's entry-level Invictas and there's good quality Invictas. And you really don't know until you get your hands on the watch. But with Nubeo, any watch you get from Nubeo is going to be that level of quality. And really, I don't see why anybody would want quality any better than this. You really do not need it. Anything that you're going to get with a high-end luxury brand like a Richard Mille, compare these side by side. I can almost guarantee you, you're not going to get this noticeable difference in quality. It's no different than comparing these two watches. They're both fantastic watches. They're both nice quality. Remember, check boxes. What is it made out of? 316 stainless steel. That's 90% of the watch. After that, we're going to start to, you know, do you like, you know, the crystal? Okay, fine. Sapphire is the best, but mineral is not non-scratch resistant, right? It's still very scratch resistant. Other things you might say, okay, screw down crown. That takes a little bit off how much water resistance. I mean, really, again, the material is 316. So as long as you have that, that's most of the watch, you know. Fit and finishing, give me a break. I have right here like 20 watches sitting here by different brands, all different price points. The fit and finishing on watches is across the board nowadays fantastic, no matter what you get. It does not matter if you're paying $20,000 for a watch, $10,000, $5,000, $100,000. The quality is just there. And anybody who says, oh, the finishing is so much better, you could check out my video that I critiqued by I Like Watches. He did a side-by-side of a Submariner and a San Martin, and those high-resolution pictures, based on his video, the San Martin had better finishing than the Rolex. So, I mean, remember, be smart about how you spend your money, be a smart shopper, and just know that no matter what brand, if it's not this watch, whatever watch you go with, no matter what you get, the odds are you're going to get good quality that you're going to be happy with is very much in your favor. So without further ado, let's throw it on the wrist. I am, I guess my height doesn't really matter in this video, but I am 5'8". I weigh 182 pounds. Kind of fluctuate between 177 and 185, but again, depends. But most important, I have a 7-inch wrist. So this is what this badass watch looks like on a guy with my wrist size. You know, it's going to look pretty standard on most people, unless you are a really big, overweight guy with really big wrists. Like, of course, the bigger you are, the smaller. This is common sense, but the smaller watch is going to look. The smaller you are, the bigger it's going to look. But you know, it's this. I wouldn't say is an enormous watch. It's got a really nice wrist presence. Some folks might consider this large, but I wouldn't say it's like Invicta large. But it's definitely, I would consider, oversized. Not by much, though. So let me address this, too. So the case size is 44 millimeter. That's the left and right measurement, right? If we go lug to lug, we're looking at 51. Case thickness, 15. Now, here's what I find annoying about almost, I swear to God, and people argue with me about this all the time. I critiqued a video by the Time Teller where he stated that he was wearing a 39 millimeter watch. He's like, oh, but it wears larger. This is just something that watch reviewers, it's like they all are kind of spitting crap out of the same book. It's like they watch other YouTubers and they're like, oh, I need to say that too. It's when you have a watch and you say it wears larger. We're not talking about a watch like this, round, basic. The argument can be made that if you say a watch wears larger than a 44 millimeter, in this case, it's valid, because if I say, well, this is a 44 millimeter watch, but it wears larger, it measures 51 millimeters. So it is a 51 millimeter watch, but it's also a 44 millimeter watch. So if we're measuring standard width and we say this is a 44 millimeter diameter, technically this wears larger than another round 44 millimeter diameter because you have, so it's longer, right? If we're looking at a basic round 40 millimeter watch, which let's just pretend this doesn't even have, the one he was reviewing didn't even have function pushers. Basic, right? Let's say here, let me just use this as an example. Very small crown, standard crown guards. For argument's sake, this watch is, I think it's just a 41 or a 42. This watch wears like a 42. Another 42 millimeter watch wears like a 42. Another 42 millimeter watch, this is not 42, but it wears like a 42. The only time a watch wears larger is if it's not truly a round watch, or if you have something like an Invicta that has like a gigantic crown and function pushers, like one of these Sea Hunters measures 58 millimeters at the bezel, but then you have another like 10 plus millimeters of function pusher, crown guards, and crown. Yes, that watch is going to wear larger than a 58. When you take a standard size watch, a round watch, and say, oh, it wears larger, this is just idiot YouTubers just kind of spitting the same nonsense out of the same playbook. Now this watch though, because it's a tonneau shape, anything that's square that measures 44 is going to wear larger. I believe this watch here is 44. Obviously, this is a bigger watch. It wears larger because technically it's a 44 or it's a 51 millimeter. So just kind of keep that in mind. Watches don't wear larger unless they're rectangular, square, or have a lot of gingerbread on the side. But it's still a big watch. It's a beautiful watch, and I think I'm going to rock this today. So folks, if you have any questions, do let me know. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Use my link and coupon code, and take care.